take a look at Jakarta Composite Index, we can see Indonesian shares slumped nearly 2% since yesterday until now. Who does the biggest mover? The answer is tobacco stocks, right after the government increased its excise tax. The Indonesian government said late on last Friday it would raise the minimum price of cigarettes across categories by an average of 35% from next year and increase the excise tax on tobacco products by 23% as part of its efforts to reduce smoking rates. Before we go further, let's see the list of cigarettes issuers in Indonesia Stock Exchange. The first one is Gudang Garam Ltd, and the company conducted an IPO in August 1990, and then Hanjaya Mandala Sampurna IPO date on August 15, 1990. Indonesia Tobacco Ltd or ITIC. The IPO date was on July 4, 2019. Bentul International Investama. The IPO date was on March 5, 1919. And Wismilak Inti Makmur. The IPO date was on December 1st, 2012. Indonesia's cigarette industry is huge. Not only does Indonesia have a big population, but it is also estimated that around 60% of Indonesian men smoke cigarettes. Of course, this thing lead big profit for those issuers I've mentioned to you before. Therefore, let's see the net revenues of those issuers get in in the last 2018. This direct revenue, net revenue of cigarettes issuers in Indonesia. Sampurna 13.3 trillion rupiah, Gudang Garam 7.79 trillion rupiah, Wismilak Inti Makmur 0.51 trillion rupiah, and Bentul International Investama 0.6 trillion rupiah. However, profitability in Indonesia's cigarette manufacturing industry has come under some pressure in recent years due to government policies. For example, government has increased the excise tax on tobacco products by 23%. This as effort to collect more tax revenue as well as to discourage the consumption of cigarettes. Rapid decline among Indonesian cigarette makers also happened after the government announced a plan to raise excise tariffs that will increase retail prices by more than a third next year. Therefore, there are Indonesian tobacco giants that heavily impacted due to the government's policy. What are those? We can see it through the next graphic. This is heavily impacted cigarettes issuers. Gudang Garam, for example, the number actually indicates the price movement or the stock price movement of Gudang Garam Ltd or Gudang Garam International. As you can see, the price on the opening price in September 17, 2019 at the level of 54,600. And then the next one is also still talking about the heavily impacted cigarette issuers, is Hanjaya Mandala Sampurna. Yep, as you can see, the less price of the stock also from HMSP experiencing downfall from September 16 and also September 17. The fact that two cigarette manufacturers, HM Sampurna and Gudang Garam, are within the top 10 of largest listed companies on the Indonesia Stock Exchange. Unfortunately, Sampurna slumped over 18%, the most since 1991, while Gudang Garam tumbled by the same magnitude, around 20.5%, the biggest decline since May 1998. An increase in cigarette excise tax has been anticipated by several cigarette companies. Gudang Garam said that it would refute the increase in the price of its product if the government raised the excise tax rate. As we know that Gudang Garam as well as Sampurna are giant players for cigarette industry. Of course, they produce a billion cigarettes for a year. And to know how many cigarettes produced by those issuers, let's see the next slide. This is numbers of the cigarettes that have been produced by HM Sampurna, Gudang Garam, Wismilak Inti Makmur, and Bentul International Investama. The number of cigarettes that had been produced by Sampurna or HM Sampurna reaching 101 billion cigarettes. Gudang Garam 85.2 billion cigarettes, Wismilak 4.64 billion cigarettes, and Bentul International Investama 4.64 billion cigarettes. Billion of cigarettes are produced to fulfill Indonesian needs, and cigarettes companies' wide distribution networks make sure that cigarettes are available in all corners of Indonesia. Also, Indonesia is a key player in driving growth globally, as it has been producing tobacco products for export and local sales over the past years. And however, some critics pointed out that the Indonesian cigarette industry has lax regulations, resulting in increased health risk. Therefore, back again, that government increased the excise tax on tobacco products by 23% as part of its efforts to reduce smoking rates that is risking Indonesians' health. But the tobacco excise may not be a 100% good thing to do. The maneuver led to some impacts which are not so good. And what are those? Let's see the next slide. This is the impacts of cigarette excise. The first one is decreasing people's buying power on cigarettes, bigger chance for illegal cigarettes to be sold, and decreased turnover that undermine uptake raw materials. Those impacts are assessed by Indonesian Kretek Conservation National Committee, or KNPK. Well, according to the committee, the magnitude of the increased rate is considered too high and irrational. The coordinator of the committee went to say that government should re-examine the excise tax by the next year. Despite the newly regulated excise tax on tobacco, cigarettes industry is still big, since Indonesia is the key player in the industry. Even according to a new insights reported by STF Market Intelligence, one of the country that will see huge growth in the next 5 years is Indonesia. And we hope that cigarettes company can overcome the problem amidst current excise tax, especially the giant issuers such as GGRM and HMSP. And stay tuned on Market Headlines, because we'll be right back after the break.